Hi, welcome. In this video I want to talk about how to use SPSS to look at some data, and we're going to look at two groups. So this might be some test results, maybe of some exam results possibly. So we've got some group A with some various scores and group B with various scores, and it so happens that there's more in group A than in group B, but that doesn't matter, and there's no connection across the rows. So 84 and 80 are not paired in any way, they're just totally independent two sets of results. So the best way of getting information into SPSS is to copy and paste from Excel. And we'll see that the format is quite different in SPSS to Excel. So the first thing I'm going to do is copy group A. So usual copy, so let's select the data in group A, 51 down to 56, so I just Control C, copy that, and I've already got SPSS open. Okay, so what we do is in the first column, it looks a little bit like Excel, but we'll see it is quite different. And you don't really want to be entering data into SPSS using the keypad. Just copy and paste from Excel is by far the simplest way. So we're going to paste that in. I think you can just do Control V to paste. Maybe not. Oh yes, slight delay, but it's there. And you can see it's put it to 2 decimal places, and we can change that if we double click on the row heading here. That takes us into this other window. You've got two windows here. One's data view, where we just were. So data view, that's got all our data. If we double click on the heading, it takes you into variable view here. So that's where we just were a moment ago. So you can toggle between the two, or you can just double click on the heading, which takes us to the variable view. And then we want to change where it says decimals here, just change that to 0 decimal places. And then if we go back to data view, you can see we've got it to no decimal places, as it was in the Excel. And now we can, well, I think the best thing here is where it says variable, rather than have this var 00001, is to just double click on that, go back into here, and then give it a proper name. So we could call it what should we say, score, enter. And in SPSS we want to tell it what type of data it is. So where it says measure, we tick scale. Remember there's 3 types of data. There's scale, ordinal and nominal. This is a continuous scale, so we choose scale. It's not ordinal data or nominal data, it's scale. You can change these other things here, but you don't really need to do that, so I would just ignore it. So really it's just the name and the measure. We go back to data, then we can see we've got score here with a little icon to say it's scale type data. In the next column we're going to put what group it is. So remember that was group A. SPSS likes numbers, so what we're going to do is we're going to call this group 1. But it's all group 1, so what we're going to do is we're going to go down here and put group 1 for everything. Just type 1 in, and again where it says variable 2, double click on that, change that to group, just type in group, and oops, spell it right, group, and measure, that's now nominal, so it's a group variable. So we go back to data view, and then we got our group. And we don't want all those decimal places, so we can go double click back in, decimal places, no decimal places. Go back to data view again, and there's our first lot of data for group 1. It's best really to put group 1 data value in and then change it to group 1 before pasting in group 2, which is going to go underneath. Okay, so if you put all the data in, sometimes you don't know which group it belongs to because you've got to put a 2 down here, etc., which we're doing at the moment. So let's go back to Excel and then get group B. Okay, so copy, Control C, go back into SPSS, and here we're just going to do Control V, and that pastes in the scores for group 2, and we're going to make sure that is in group 2, so put a 2 for these. So SPSS likes the data to be in this sort of format, all the results listed in one of the groups, in one of the columns, and then the group number to be arranged like this. So it's not how you would lay out results in Excel. See, in Excel we've had our table like this. We wouldn't really put these results underneath the 56 and put the group down here. You wouldn't see that in a scientific paper or anything like that. So SPSS likes this particular format. So what we're going to do is, well, it might be wise to save it first. So we go to File, Save As, and we're going to put it into some logical file. I'm going to call this test. Well, let's call it results. I'll put 2 groups. Then I'll save it. Okay, so we've now saved the data, and you get this other window coming up here saying we've saved it. In SPSS you get 2 different windows. If I just reduce that down somewhat, maybe I can just move it out of the way. So you get one where the output shows, this window here, output 1, it's a default file name, and then 1 is where our data is. So every time we perform some functions, nothing happens in this table, but the results go into this results window, as we will see. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, well, we're going to take it for granted that data is independent. Okay, so there's 2 separate groups and the results are independent. I mean, a student didn't score a result in one exam, then run through to the other group and then take the exam again in group B. So we're going to assume that the data is independent, and now we want to check for normality. So what we do for that is, well, the first thing we need to do is break the groups. So we've got group 1 and group 2. We need to tell SPSS that we have indeed got 2 groups. This might sound a little bit odd, but this is the way the program wants it to be. So what we do is we split the data into group 1 and group 2, and we do that by going to Data and then down to Split File. So click on Split File, and we want to split it in terms of the groups. Okay, so there's the group. And what we can do is there's different ways of doing it, which is the same thing. You can either grab the group and pull it down into this box, I believe. No, you've got to do compare groups. That's right, then this arrow becomes live and the window becomes live. So you have to click on the compare groups, then we can either drag it into this box or click the arrow. Let's drag it. So we're going to pair groups, and then we're just going to press OK. And then the output window, it says split file layered by group. Okay, so once we split the file, the first thing we want to do is to check for normality. And we can do this by going to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and Explore. And then we put score into this independent list here. So we can either use the arrow and highlight score, or we can drag it. So let's drag it into here. And then factor list is going to be our group. So we click on group, and again we can drag that down to here, or we can just press this arrow and we get group there. Then we want to click on statistics, and we can see we've got 95% confidence interval. That means the alpha is 0.05, which is our standard value. Click on plots, and we can have stem and leaf plots, or we can have histogram, or one or the other, or both. Let's go for both. And the important thing here is to click on this normality plots with tests. It's the test we want to do to see if it's normally distributed. Both groups, see if they're both normally distributed. So click on that, press continue, options, just ignore that, and bootstrap, we ignore that one, and then we make sure we've got both on the display, statistics and the plots. So just press OK, and then out comes our output window again. So it takes a couple of moments to get all the data on there. We can see on the left hand side we've got lots of data appearing. So we can scroll through. Let's scroll through to the top, and we can see we got score group 1, group 2. We got the N value, so we got 13 items in group 1, 11 in group 2, and underneath we've got tables. Tables of different statistical information. So mean 59.85, and you've got the median and the variance, which is standard deviation squared, maximum, minimum, range. So there's a whole lot of information there. And then we've got for group 2 the mean there, 71.55. So we can see that the mean for group 2 is higher than group 1. So it looks like their group 1 is going to be scoring less than group 2, but the whole point of this exercise is to see if there's a statistical difference. So that's what we're pursuing. So let's scroll down. Test for normality. This is what we want to look at. And we're looking at the Shapiro-Wilk test, and we're looking at the significance. So here for group 1, 0.600, group 2, 0.818. So both of those are greater than 0.05, which is our alpha value. So both sets of results are normally distributed. So regardless of what we see in the plots, we can look at them. So you might have guessed that's normally distributed, but you know, the missing data in the middle there might make you think maybe it's not normally distributed. But that statistic there is the all-important information, telling you can proceed with the parametric statistics. Okay, so that's group 1. Group 2 shows that kind of histogram. And there are other plots we've ticked, like stem and leaf plot. Oh, that's the QQ plot. Remember, that should be linear if you've got normality. So you'll see some slight fluctuations there, but we know it is normally distributed. And there again is the normal QQ plot there. And we can do these stem and leaf plots as well, which you're probably familiar with, like in that representation. So the next thing is to look at the go back to the data, and then do the homogeneity of variance test, the Levene's test, and the t-test as well, if it passes the homogeneity of variance test. So SPSS likes us now to close the splitting we've done here. So we unsplit the results to do the Levene's test and the t-test. So we go back to data, go back to split file, and now we want to put group back here. The OK is still grayed out, so if we go analyze all cases, do not create groups, that makes the OK live again. So basically we're not splitting the groups anymore. So just press OK, and then I think you get a little bit of output saying split file off. Then we go to our data again, and then what do we do to get the Levene's test? Well, we go to Analyze, Compare Means, Independent Samples t-test. So we click on that. So grab score into test variable, grab group into grouping variable, and it come up with these question marks, which we have to define the groups. It's just a funny way Excel does that. So we just go on, define groups. Group 1 is going to be 1, group 2 is going to be 2. Just press continue. Again, let's just check the options. I don't think, yeah, 95% confidence level, so we include that. That means our alpha is 0.05 as usual. Bootstrap, ignore that, and then just press OK. And then we get changes to the output window. So let's scroll through here, and we have our results. So the first thing we need to look at is the Levene's test, and we can say, oops, we can see here the significance is 0.387. So that means our p-value here, 0.387, is greater than our alpha value, 0.05. That means the data is, we have achieved homogeneity of variance. So then we can proceed to the t-test results, so which are also on here. So we see the two-tailed t-test results, and we look at this top value here. Equal variance is assumed, equal variance is not assumed. So there's two different values. If we look at the top value, 0.007, so that is less than 0.05. That means there is a statistical difference between the two groups, and we know which one has the highest scores because we look at the means. Remember group, let's go back. Group 1 score 59, coming up to 60%, and then group 2 was 72%. So group 2 scored higher, and it is statistically different going by this p-value down here, 0.07. Okay, so that's how you do the t-test in SPSS.